Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, here, unmute yourself, sir.
Oh, sorry. Good morning.
Welcome to our IPT, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Kunal, sir.
Good morning.
So, Sanjana,
Yes, sir.
you can start now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. A very good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the second day of this 2-week AICT sponsored National A Conference entitled Advancing Drug Discovery, Development and Therapy with Research Informatics. From 18th of October to 29th of October 2021, which is organized by Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur, Odisha. On behalf of Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur, I, Tanzina Shireen, feel highly privileged to extend a warm and hearty welcome to all the respected dignitaries, Professor Dr. Santosh Kumar Mahapatra, sir, Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur. I welcome our speaker for the session, Dr. Kunal Pal, Associate Professor, HOD, Department of Biotechnology and Medical Engineering, NIT Rourkela, Sundargarh, Odisha. I welcome the chairperson for the session, Dr. C.H. Niranjan Patra, sir, Professor and Vice Principal cum HOD, Department of Pharmaceutics, Roland Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Berhampur, Odisha. And I would like to welcome our program coordinator, Dr. Professor Biswaranjan Mahanti, sir. I welcome the program co-coordinator, Dr. Bhavani Shankar, sir, Associate Professor of Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur. I welcome our moderator, Dr. Bebaswan Mishra, sir, Assistant Professor, Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur. And I welcome all the respected distinguished faculty members and all the delegates who have joined with us for this e-conference to make it a great success. Without further ado, let's get started for the scientific session of the day. On this auspicious occasion, we have an eminent speaker with us, Dr. Kunal Pal. Sir will enlighten us about the role of artificial intelligence in understanding the effect of drugs on human physiology. To chair the session, may I please introduce our Honorable C.H. Niranjan Patra, sir. I welcome you, sir. Sir did PhD in Pharmacy from Biju Patnaik University of Technology, Bhubaneswar, Odisha in August 2009 under the esteemed guidance of Professor M. Vimala Devi, M.Pharm in Pharm and Pharmaceutics in 2002 from Roland Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Berhampur, affiliated to Berhampur University, Odisha. Sir has guided 39 numbers of M.Pharm students and 3 PhD scholars. Sir has got 1 Indian patent. Sir has 4 PhD theses. Sir is guiding 6 PhD scholar. Sir has published 42 number of research papers. 10 number of review articles, published 4 books. Sir has presented 13 papers in national and international conferences. Sir recently is working as the Professor and Vice Principal cum HOD, Department of Pharmaceutics, Roland Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Berhampur, Odisha. It's an honor to have you with us, sir. Now I would request our chairperson to introduce our speaker. to the audience. Over to you, sir. Please.
Thank you, Ranjina. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to congratulate the entire team of IPT Salipur for organizing this e-conference sponsored by AICTE. My special thanks to Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, Principal, and other members like Dr. Vishwamaranjan Mahanti, Dr. Bhavani Nayak, Dr. Vivaswan for organizing such kind of professional activities. So the theme of this e-conference, Advancing Drug Discovery, Development and Therapy with Research Informatics. And this is a relevant topic, and the speaker today, Dr. Kunal Pal, is an expert in the area of artificial intelligence, and the topic selected will be of a great significance in healthcare delivery sectors. I am sure that this artificial intelligence is going to be the present of future years, especially in the area of healthcare sector, where artificial intelligence is going to be used in various areas. So this will be of a great significance. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to introduce Dr. Kunal Pal to all the participants. Dr. Kunal Pal pursued his graduation in pharmacy from the University of Delhi, New Delhi, in the year 2002, followed by post-graduation in biomedical engineering from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, in the year 2004. Later, he did his PhD in material science from the reputed IIT Kharagpur in the year 2006. Subsequently, he joined Ryerson University, Toronto, Canada, as postdoctoral fellow in the year 2007. During his tenure at Ryerson University, he served as Vice Chair elect, HQPA, AFM Network of Excellence, Canada. He joined NIT Rourkela in the year 2009 as an assistant professor in biomedical engineering. He is leading the medical electronics and instrumentation group in the Department of Biotechnology and Medical Engineering, NIT Rourkela. Presently, he is associate professor and head of the department. His primary research interests revolve around biomedical signal processing and biomedical equipment design. He is also working in the field of soft materials and controlled drug delivery. He has more than 200 publications in Science Citation Indexed journals of high repute. He has published book chapters. He has presented papers in peer-reviewed conferences. He is a very well-cited researcher having more than 3,000 citations. So with this brief introduction about our speaker, I request Dr. Kunal Pal to start with his presentation. And I'm sure the audience will be benefited from this. Sir, please, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Patro, for the nice introduction. And I would like to again thank Professor Mohanty and Professor Bhavani Nayak for giving me the opportunity to present what we are doing at NIT Rourkela. I would also like to thank Professor Santosh Mahapatra for allowing Professor Mohanty to organize such a nice conference. Even though we are far apart, sitting far apart, the internet has brought us together, and it seems that we are just sitting across the table and discussing the things. So this is the beauty of the technology. Okay. So with this, I will start my presentation. Is my screen visible to you guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was supposed to talk about the role of artificial intelligence in uh, the field of medicine, right? Now, what is artificial intelligence? So you will quite often find that the word machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence techniques, they are used very commonly, and they are being used in place of the other. So there is a very minute difference between artificial intelligence and the machine learning. Machine learning based techniques are the artificial intelligence based techniques which can be implemented in some machines, and they help us in taking some decisions. Okay, so artificial intelligence, it is a very vast topic. It is a very vast topic. Over here you can make predictions in the future. Okay, you can try to segregate two types of data. That means you can go for the classification. Okay, and there are many other things. So some decisions can also be taken based upon these classifications and all these things. Now in the prediction, you will find that many people, they are employing this AI or ML techniques for trading. I suppose many of you, you are quite conversant with the stock market. So over there you will find many people, they are working on the smart algorithms to buy and sell the stocks from the stock exchange. Okay. So what is those? Those are nothing but machine learning, or in general the artificial intelligence. Okay. So like in the field of finance, which I talked about, the stock market, which comes under the field of finance. In the medicine also, we can employ machine learning or the artificial intelligence techniques to understand what is the effect of the drugs. Okay, or we can make a prediction whether a person will be having a particular disease or not. One of the classical example in the prediction, artificial intelligence based prediction in medicine, is the prediction of heart attack. Is the prediction of heart attack. Okay, and it is one of the major areas where artificial intelligence is being tried and tested. Apart from that, we have rehabilitation engineering, where you will find that a person is speaking something, and then automatically some work are being done. One of the common example is, I feel every one of you have heard about this Alexa. What is that? That is nothing but an machine learning based tool which can perform various tasks and can help us in automating the our house environment, right? Now suppose there is a person who is what you call differently abled, and he is not able to access all the gadgets in the home. Then this Alexa, what it can do, it can improve the lifestyle of those differently abled persons in a significant way. So the dependence of the this differently abled person on the fully abled body person will be reduced significantly. Okay, so suppose in our earlier days, you would have find that we had our grandparents who used to stay with us, and they used to become, if they suppose they are getting paralyzed or something, they used to become a kind of burden onto the other family persons, because there has to be one person who needed to be there to take care of the elderly persons. Okay, so the productivity of that person, suppose uh, there were a couple of brothers in the family, so one brother has to stay along with the parent to take care of the parent so that the other person can go and work. Think of the condition where we had developed an artificial intelligence based technologies which would have allowed the second person also to go to the work, and the differently able person who is there, who is completely paralyzed, he could have used this Alexa or other techniques to control the home environment to his benefit. So whatever he wanted to do, suppose he wants to put on the AC, he would have given just a voice command and the AC would be on, right? If he wanted to just stop the AC, he would have given a voice command and the AC would stop. So nowadays, if you see this artificial intelligence based techniques, it is not only helping us means the fully capable or fully able persons, but it can also be used to rehabilitate the differently abled persons. Okay, there are other techniques also where you can generate these EMG signals. I hope every one of you know what are EMG signals, electromyogram signals, or the voice signals, or the EEG signals. These signals can be taken and they can be automated, and by automating the thing, you can feed that output to the Alexa like devices, and they can take control of the home environment completely for you. Okay, so this is the power of artificial intelligence or machine learning in today's world. It is not only helpful in, say, military purposes, in space, in healthcare, in communication, whatever field you say, but wherever you are using technology nowadays, you will find artificial intelligence is playing a major role in improving the life of the person. So considering this, when Professor Mohanty, he contacted me and he told that, sir, we are conducting one conference on advanced drug discovery, development and therapy with research informatics. So I said, I don't work on this research informatics or in the area of informatics, right? But he said, okay, sir, you work on this artificial intelligence. So will you be able to share some of your experience over the machine learning or artificial intelligence based technique? So what is the reason for that? The reason is that when you talk of informatics, what is that? Informatics is again a field of study where you have a large number of data and you apply various mathematical tools to get some information from there. Okay, so in a way, when we are using machine learning techniques to analyze some results for the drugs, when you are giving some drugs, it will have some effect on the human body, and if you apply this machine learning techniques over there, then it would be just under the category of the informatics. So I said, okay, I can do with that. So many of you are very learned persons, and those who work in the field of pharmacology, they would find that even for getting the permission for injecting a drug into the this animal model, it is very difficult. If you have to say inject some new drug, or you want to test something into the drug, the animal ethical committee, they are very strict, and they will try to minimize your experiments and all these things. So this creates a hurdle in the research in the field of medicine. Okay, but in a way it is also essential because uh, there are various previously it has been seen that various researchers, they misuse uh, this what you call experimental protocol, and if there is a need for only say 3 animal, they will be using 6 or 7 animals or 10 animals, and we are unnecessarily sacrificing the animals for the betterment of the human mankind. So to stop this excessive use of the animals in the research, these animal ethical committees, they have been formed across the globe. However, uh, when you try to restrict something, this is my personal views, so it will have some effect on the uh, good persons also. Suppose when a law is made, it is made keeping in mind that somewhere some crime will be happening and we want to stop that. But that law, even though it is meant to stop some crime, in the near future, it may also create hurdles. Suppose you may not be able to go to a particular area, so your freedom is being restricted. So there are pros and cons of each and every aspects of the what do you call the laws. So animal ethical committees, what they do, they enforce a kind of law so that there is a judicial use of the animals in the research area. Okay, and so that the mankind can be benefited in a proper way. So the problem what IPT Salipur faces, what every other college faces with the animal model, uh, it's very difficult, right? However, if you give food and you ask some persons, okay, you take this food, and then there is no restrictions on that, because the food everyone takes. Suppose you want to take coffee, so in coffee you will find that one of the major component is caffeine. One of the major component is caffeine. Now, if you want to give caffeine directly to the person, you need prescription. Okay, but if you give coffee to a person, you need not to go to any ethical committee, because it is a food item and everyone is eating, right? But if you want to give caffeine, you need a prescription, and for getting this prescription, in our case, we need to go to the ethical committee to get the ethical clearance that yeah, we want to give this drug to this person and we want to see the effect. So what our group thought is that, okay, if there are so restriction in giving the drugs directly to the patient, let us use the food. So everyone drinks coffee, and if we take the coffee and give it caffeinated coffee, there are decaf coffees also. Decaf means decaffeinated coffees. In decaffeinated coffees, the caffeine are being removed. Okay. So in the caffeinated coffee, if we give the coffee to the person, there would be no ethical hindrance. So considering all these scenarios, we designed this study, and accordingly what we did is that we formulated this study, and the title of the study is machine learning based analysis of the single lead electrocardiograph data for coffee induced changes in the cardiac electrophysiology. Okay, you can also look into the changes in the electroencephalogram. One of my student, he has also looked into this the effect of coffee on the electroencephalogram, and we have published the paper in a very good journal. So if any one of you are interested, you can reach out to me, through Professor Mohanty, and I will be happy to share the research article with you guys. Okay, but in today's presentation, I would be concentrating mainly on the coffee-induced changes in the cardiac electrophysiology. So, what is happening over there? So, as Professor Patru said, I am the associate professor and head of Department of Biotechnology and Medical Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Rourkela. Okay. So, my content, the contents of the presentation would be something like this. First, I will be discussing about some introduction, then literature review, then methodology, then time domain analysis, then joint time frequency analysis, then summary of the study, future scope, references, and then I will be sharing the publications which have been which we have got from this study. So, coffee. Why coffee? If you see, coffee is the most widely used brewed drink. Okay. Now, widely used brewed drink. So, if you see, suppose you are depressed due to some reason, or you are sad, even if you are happy, okay, suppose you want to go for a cup, you want to discuss something, say now when Professor Mohanty comes to us and he wants to discuss something, so I always ask him, let's go and have a cup of coffee, and while having the cup of coffee we'll discuss what we can do in the research. So same thing, suppose there are two college friends, if they want to discuss something about their say the personal life or their this educational life, you will find people, they would go to the coffee shop and they will take a sip of coffee and discuss all their problems and happiness, everything. Okay, so the coffee, it has become one of the integral part of the human life. Okay, how it is prepared? The coffee what we get, it is being prepared from the roasted coffee beans. Okay, the plant of coffee, it is basically a native of Africa. However, at a later stage, it was exported to different regions of the world. Now, in the current day, coffee is being cultivated in 70 different countries. It is no longer being restricted to Africa. In India also, you will find there are various coffee gardens and you can get the coffee. The main constituents of coffee, what are those? Those are caffeine, which I have already told you. It has got tannin, it has got fixed oil, it has got carbohydrates, and it has got proteins. Okay. Among these, if you see the caffeine, it is one of the important pharmacological component within the coffee. Okay. The coffee is slightly acidic in nature and it possesses stimulating effect due to the caffeine content. Now, stimulating effect, what do you mean by stimulating effect? It basically means stimulation of the nervous system. Okay, so I will give you a very classical example. When we were kids, I used to prefer to take coffee rather than tea. So my mother used to give me coffee when there was any exams and I was studying and I needed to concentrate something. So my mother used to give me a cup of coffee at night so that I can concentrate more on the studies. Okay, I believe this would be the same for most of you guys. Okay, so what this drinking of coffee do before the exam? First of all, it stimulates our frontal lobe of the brain and it improves our attentiveness. So when we are studying, we need an attention. So how do you get the attention? From which part of the brain you get the attention? From the frontal lobe of the brain we get the attention, right? So the coffee, because it is having caffeine within it, which is the major component, it particularly stimulates the frontal lobe of the brain and it increases our attentiveness. Okay, so because of that reason, not only coffee, even the tea, it is used to improve the attention when we need some we need some extra attention, just like in the case of the studies. Okay, so you will find many drivers, they will take a cup of tea or a cup of coffee before they start driving at the night, and this is the main reason for that, because caffeine, it goes and stimulates the nervous system in general, and more importantly, it activates the frontal lobe to a greater extent. Okay. In recent news, we have found that the consumption of coffee, it reduces the risk of heart failure when we take it at regular intervals. Okay. Further, it adds years to the life. Okay. Further, if you see the other literature, it says the coffee, it helps in fighting a broad range of diseases, which includes depression, type 2 diabetes, and heart diseases. Okay, it enhances longevity. Okay, in the recent past, you must have heard about decaffeinated coffee. What is a decaffeinated coffee? Decaffeinated coffee is a coffee from where caffeine has been extracted out and it does not contain caffeine within it, or even if it contains caffeine, it is in very negligible amount. So previously, it was thought that the drinking of the decaffeinated coffee was good for the health because it would have allowed us to take less amount of caffeine. Okay, you will find that taking of any kind of drugs in excess, it creates problem. Leave alone the drug, even if you are taking a very high amount of water, then it is also bad for our health. Okay, and that was the reason why the food researchers, they came up with the concept of this decaffeinated coffee, right? However, as the time progressed and people were having decaffeinated coffee, other group of researchers, they started studying the effect of this coffee onto the physiological system, and they found that regular consumption of decaffeinated coffee, it would increase the risk of heart failure on long term use. Okay, so decaffeinated coffee, they would increase the risk of heart failure. Okay, so please keep this in mind. So nature has given us a lot of food, but we try to play with that. You will find in the market, if you go for the orange juice, they will take the orange and they will put it into the juicer, and you will find that you are getting a very clean and smooth juice. And even if there are some pulps which are remaining in the juice, many people they would say, अरे भैया यहाँ पे पल्प है, आपने उसको ठीक से नहीं किया. But we are doing a mistake over here. Nature has included that pulp knowingly over there. Okay, so the consumption of the pulps along with the juice, it increases the fiber intake within our body. The same thing happens with the coffee also. So don't play with the natural composition of the food components. Okay, if you want to take the this juice, you definitely take the juice, but you also take the fibers which are there over within the fruits. Okay, don't take only the liquid. So considering all of this, we started doing some literature review. Okay, and we started looking into the recent literature review starting from 2014, we did some literature review, and we saw that of the last report on the coffee based study, it was in the year of 2019. Okay. Now, since it was in the year of, within this period, we found that there are some ambiguous results. Somewhere you will find that there is a, uh, a decrease in the blood pressure over here. If you see, no changes in the diastolic blood pressure. Okay, decrease in the heart rate, and these are there. But when you go over here in the another study in 2016, it says increase in systolic blood pressure, no significant change in the electrocardiography parameters was found, then increased heart rate, blood pressure. Okay, so these are all contradictory results. Okay, now why this was happening? This was happening because if you see all the authors, what they are doing, they are basically taking, especially the electrocardiographic based result, they are taking the electrocardiographic parameters over here, like PR interval, QRS duration, QTC interval, QT interval, and so long. And these measurements are prone to mistakes. Okay, these are prone to mistakes. Right? So, we again went to the literature and we found that the statistical measures of the signals, they can help us in getting a more concrete data. So in our study we have restricted ourselves into getting the statistical data from the signals. Okay, so before I move forward, what are the information which we have got from the previous literature? We have found a number of studies have been conducted using the caffeinated beverages. However, there are only a few research which focuses on caffeinated coffee. So we found, yeah, there is a definitive way that we can work in this area. Okay. Secondly, most of the studies, they have concentrated their analysis on the cardiac system and the cognitive analysis, but even among these two studies, the studies were mainly observational or clinical. There was no inclusion of the artificial intelligence based studies. Okay. Then thirdly, most of these studies, they employed only morphological features like the amplitude of the different peaks, duration of the intervals, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then, as I already told, the morphological features like the QT interval, peak of QRS complex, and or the other wave complexes, they are associated with noise. Okay, and due to the inclusion of this noise within the ECG signals, we may get some inaccurate results. Okay. Hence, there is a need for feature extraction methods. What do you mean by feature extraction methods? Feature extraction methods are nothing but the statistical parameters okay, right. Now if I say, okay, you find out the statistical parameters of my face, what you would do? You will be finding out the distance between my two eyes, the length of my eyes, okay, how much my the length of the nose, length of the eyes is also an important thing. Then how much my nose is protruding from my facial surface, what is the length of my lips, and all these things. Okay. Now, from a basal level, you can also try to find out what is the entropy of my face. What is the entropy? Entropy is basically the unevenness of my face. Okay. Suppose if you take a basal line, say wherever my ears are there, you take a basal line over there, and from there you find out the distance at or the height of each and every point of my face from that basal level, and then you try to find out the energy content over there. Okay. So the variation in this case is, in general, it is regarded as the entropy. So you will find if a person is from a mongoloid race, his entropy of the face would be different from the persons who are either in the North Indian region or the Eastern region, and so and what you call uh, and the other regions, say for example the Western countries and all these things. Okay, so these are basically how you are getting by some measurements. And what are these? These are basically the statistical parameters, and these parameters, they help us in getting more and more information about our mm, race. You talk about the race, from which region the person is coming, and so on and so forth. Okay, so when we want to study the effect of the coffee, what we need? We need two classes. The first is before coffee, what is happening, and after the consumption of the coffee, what is happening. Okay, so we give coffee, then we study the cardiac physiology. How do we study? Before the person has been uh, given with the coffee, and after the person has been given with the coffee, then we can go for the different types of analysis, say time domain analysis, uh, then signal decomposition techniques, which are basically joint time frequency analysis technique. Then we can go for signal modeling. We can also go for uh, the use of the hybrid features. In this study, I will mainly be discussing about the time domain analysis and signal decomposition analysis. Now, once you get the statistical features from there, we go for the statistical parameter testing and comparison of different machine learning based classifiers. Okay, so in the second case, we go for the extraction of the statistical parameters, and then statistical parameters and the entropy based parameters, and then we go for the comparison using the stuff. So time domain analysis. What is time domain analysis? We all know that we have an ECG signal. So what is the x-axis? In x-axis we have time. In y-axis we have amplitude. And since this amplitude is varying with time, so this is called time domain analysis. Okay. So what is ECG? It is a graphically represents the electrical activity of the heart. Right. So what we have done, we have taken 15 healthy and sedentary male volunteers in our study. Okay, and we have verbally informed them about our study, and we have taken a written consent from them that we could use their data for our research purpose. Okay. Then we have taken 5 minutes of ECG signals in the lead 1 configuration using a 1-year EKG sensor. Okay, and we have collected that data at 1 kilohertz of sampling frequency. I am not going into the details of what is sampling frequency and all these things. It is irrelevant for you guys. So the main thing is, you have the person, you have the ECG machine, and you collect the data. Okay, so for you guys, this is an important thing. So in this case, what was our hypothesis? Our hypothesis is that from the literature we have seen that effect of coffee on ECG using morphological features, it gives us mixed results. But the literature also suggests the performance of the statistical and the entropy based features on other ECG applications have shown very good and efficient results. So our hypothesis was that if we use statistical and entropy based features, they would be providing us an efficient tool to detect the short term effect of the coffee in the ECG signals. And for that, what we have done, from the 5 minutes of ECG signals, we have taken out 5 seconds of ECG segments. Okay, so the post consumption of coffee signal, it was taken after 10 minutes. Okay, and then we extracted the features, statistical and the entropy features. Then we went for the significant feature detection test, and we went for the performance evaluation of the classifiers. Okay. So for the hypothesis evaluation, we have taken the ECG signals. So these are the representative 5-second ECG signal before and after consumption of the coffee. And if you see, there is not much difference between these two. Okay. So what we have done over here is that we have taken some statistical parameters like mean, median, variance, kurtosis, and skewness, whereas we have also taken 4 entropy features like Shannon energy, LEE, Renyi energy, and this Sally's entropy. Renyi entropy, Sally's entropy, and then we had Tigger energy, TG. These entropies, they were calculated. Okay, so LEE basically it stands for log energy entropy. Okay, so among this, if you see arithmetic mean, median, variance, these are lower order. So there is a spelling mistake. It is a lower order statistical feature. Then we have these higher order statistical features, this skewness and kurtosis, and entropy based features. These are Sally's entropy, Renyi entropy, Shannon entropy, and log energy. And then we have the Tigger energy. It is related to the entropy, and it may be classified along with the entropy. Okay. And in Renyi and this Sally's entropy, you can calculate at various orders. So we varied the orders. Okay, and in this study, basically, what I am reporting over here in this study, we have taken the Q value as 0.5. But in our other studies, where we have done an in-depth analysis, we have validated from 0.01 to 2. Okay. So these are some of the measures. These are the this mathematical equations for calculating the statistical parameters. Okay. So significant feature selection. How do you find out? You have a feature set. Then we initially do the normality test. What is a normality test? Suppose you have a data. You have to check whether it is following a normal distribution. Okay, so this is an important test. The normality test, it is an important test. Many people, they don't do it. I will tell you why it is important. So normality test, we did it using Shapiro-Wilk test, and it gives us a p-value. If the p-value is less than 0.05, then then the distribution, it is regarded as non-normal distribution. Okay, then it is regarded as non-normal distribution. If it is a non-normal distribution, then we have to go for the significant analysis using the Wilcoxon sign rank test. If this normality it is negative, that means it is a normal distribution, then only we can go for the t-test. Okay, this has to be remembered. This has to be remembered. Non-normal data distribution, their significance level has to be tested using the Wilcoxon sign rank test, and for the non-normal distribution it has to be tested using the t-test. However, in many cases, if you see, we just use the t-test without checking this normality. However, if you go for this statistical analysis, whatever we are doing, it is a wrong thing. You should not do this. If you get a data, our first job should be to test the normality of the data and find out whether it is having a if it is having a normal distribution or not. The one of the first assumption for the t-test is that the distribution of the data is normal. So if you are giving a normal data and analyzing it using the t-test, you are yourself incorporating a mistake into your analysis. So from here, if you get p-value less than 0.05, then those features, they are regarded as the statistically significant features, and if it is more than that, then it is regarded as the statistically insignificant features, and we discard these features. In our test, if you see, we have got these features, attributes, or the parameters which we have got, right? Now among these skewness and kurtosis, if you see, they are not significantly different, okay, whereas the all other features, they are significantly different. Among all of these, the median, if you see, I have marked it in red. Why this is so? Because even if it is significantly different, the average value has decreased in the case of it is lower in the case of in the case of control. If you see, in the mean, it is 0.015 in the case of stimulus, and in the case of control it is minus of 0.01. In the similar case, if you see, we are having the similar thing. This is larger. On an average, there is an increment in the values in the case of when we have given the signals, right? Now, thereafter, what we have done is that we have taken this data and we have put it into 9 different classifiers, whatever are the significant data, and we have taken naive based classifier, fast, large. So all of these are the machine learning models which are a part of the artificial intelligence. Okay, so we have used rapid minus software to develop these artificial models. So why we have used so many classifiers? We have used so many classifiers because we are working with a black box and we don't know which machine learning model will be performing better. Okay, so because of this reason, we have used such a large number of models to develop our analytical explanation. Okay, so in the performance measures, we have calculated accuracy, sensitivity, specificity, F measure, and area under the curve parameters. So these are the normal parameters which you get when you develop a model. So the different parameters over here, it has been described in this chart. In the performance evaluation, when we looked into this, we have found that the gradient boosted tree, it gave us an accuracy of 69.4, whereas the deep learning method, which is another important parameter, another important machine learning model, it has given 68.6% accuracy. Now, according to the according to the researchers who do work in this artificial intelligence based analysis of the biological data, any classification accuracy which is greater than 60% is a very good result, and we can consider it for the purpose of the analysis. Okay. Now from here, what is our hypothesis consequence? The presumed hypothesis was that the statistical and entropy based features which were obtained from smaller segments of the ECG signals can be efficiently used to detect short-term effect of coffee, and it is supported by the existence of several statistical and entropy based features which are found in the Wilcoxon sign rank test. The higher classification accuracy achieved in differentiating the two groups of data could be detected, and this suggests that yes, there is a change in the physiological activity of the uh, volunteers after they consume the coffee. Okay, because there has been an increase in the energy content, increase in the entropy content. Okay. Now next is analysis of the cardiac physiology by decomposition based analysis. We used over here discrete wavelet transform and wavelet packet decomposition. Okay. Now wavelets, what are wavelets? A wavelet, it is a rapidly decaying wave like oscillation that has a zero mean and exists for a finite duration. Okay. It has a bandpass characteristics in a frequency domain filter. So I am not going into in depth. So some of the major basic mother wavelets, they include biorthogonal wavelet, Kofflet wavelet, Dobischer wavelet, Haar wavelet, Signet wavelet, and there are other wavelets too. In the current study, we have limited our study to 4 wavelets of Dobischer family. Okay, dB2, dB4, dB6, and dB8. So the wavelets of the Dobischer family. So over there we have taken dB2, 4, 6, and 8 wavelet for our further analysis. So what is the hypothesis over here? This over here, the hypothesis means the discrete wavelet transform and the wavelet packet decomposition, they basically decompose our signals into different entities, and the decomposition based analysis, it is one of the major and important analysis in getting a better output. Okay, say for example, if I give you an example, say there is a family A, B, C and D. So they are a family. So in this family there are 4 members. Now in general all of them, they are very good persons. Now due to some reason the person C, he performs a crime. Now will it be a fair enough to judge all the members of the family to be a culprit family? No, because the other persons A, B and D, they have not changed their properties. They are still good persons. Okay, so if I have to analyze this family, it would be a better option to break this family into individual items, and then I analyze the quality of this family, and then I can generalize the thing, and then I can say the exception is the C component. Okay, so it is the decomposition of any signal, it gives us a tool to do a minute evaluation of the signal components. Okay, and this is what we were expecting. So we went for the decomposition. So how the decomposition is done? So we all know that ECG signal, it is having a frequency component in the range of 0.5 to say 120 hertz. In some books you will find 100 hertz. In some books you may find 150 hertz. Okay. So whatever is the thing. So what we have done, we have resampled the signal at 360 hertz. And while we are doing the discrete wavelet transform, if you are doing this analysis, then we have to break down this thing to 0 to 180 hertz. I'm not going into the details. This is because there is a phenomenon which is called Nyquist rate, uh, which only allows the half of the sampling frequency. Half of the sampling frequency is half of the 360 hertz, which can be analyzed in the digital domain. And accordingly, what happens, we have taken, see, only 0 to 180 hertz of the signal, and then we have decomposed. And see, the decomposition is in the frequency domain. I hope every one of you have studied about the low pass filter and high pass filter. Low pass filter and high pass filter, what they do, they are working in the frequency domain, right? So when we are breaking the signal in the frequency domain, we get, see, 0 to 90 hertz and 90 to 180 hertz. Now the lower frequency component, they are called approximate coefficients, and the higher frequency component, they are called the detailed coefficients. Okay. Then 0 to 90 hertz, it is again broken into A2 and D2. Again, see, 0 to 90 hertz is being broken, 45 to 90 and 0 to 45. And again, this A2 is being again broken, and you get this thing. Now, if you add up these terminal nodes A3, D3 and D1, and if you add up all these frequency components, you will see our total frequency component is 0 to 180 hertz. Okay. But what we have done, we have decomposed the signal based upon the frequency components. Now, from each of these components, we will be getting these parameters. Okay. So see, this is the C of A3, then D3 is D2, D1. So these are the components, signal components, which have been acquired from the main ECG signal over here. So the A1 is for the pre-consumption of the coffee, and the second one is the post-consumption of the coffee. Okay. So we have broken. Now from one signal component, we have now got 4 signal component. Okay. And this is for the 3 level of decomposition. So level 1, this is level 2, and this decomposition is the level 3. Okay. So we have done the things in 3 levels of the decomposition. Okay. So similarly, we can increase the decomposition level also. How DWT, discrete wavelet transform, is different from the wavelet packet decomposition? If you see, the other frequency components, they are also been broken, and at the end, if you see, we have the frequency component starting from 0 to 188 over here also. But if you see, the breaking down of the frequency component is minute over here as compared to the DWT. So the frequency resolution, it will be much better as compared to the DWT. So these are the different components what we get, and this is from the 3 level of decomposition. Then again, what we did is that we tested this, we went for the statistical analysis. First we went for the normality behavior, then Shapiroval test we performed. Okay, and from there we detected the statistically important parameters. So this is the output. If you see, most of the entropies over here, they are showing positive variations. over here significantly. The variance is also showing a positive correlation, and this red marks, they are showing the reduced data. Okay. Then in the observation, there was a significant decrease in the kurtosis value in the low frequency band that showed a decrease in the flatness of the signal coefficients. There was a significant increase in the variance value. Irrespective of the type of the mother wavelet used, a significant change in the entropy values and trigger energy value was observed. So increased entropy value informs infers that there is an increase in the complexity or the irregularity in the ECG signals after the consumption of the coffee. Then TG represents the instantaneous change in the signal amplitude. Okay. Hence, an increased TG value represents a change in the instantaneous amplitude values in the decomposed ECG signals. Now, again, we went for the performance evaluation. So, if you see, we are getting performance evaluation which are greater than 75%. Okay, we have got two of these. So, this was for the DWT. Okay. Similarly, over here also we got a better frequency resolution at dB6. We got a very good this accuracy of 74%, which was almost more than 5 as compared to the condition when we did not use this decomposition techniques. So by employing these decomposition techniques, we have been able to improve the performance of the machine learning models. Okay. So summary, GBT, gradient boosted tree machine learning model, it performed well in both WPT and DWT method. A maximum accuracy of 75.8% was achieved in the GBT model in DWT method. Okay. So feature obtained from DWT method showed better results than that are obtained from the WPD method. Okay. The alteration in the cardiac physiology is also evident by the higher classification accuracy that has been achieved in the ML model. Okay. So future work, we would like to work with other time frequency decomposition techniques such as Gabor transform, Wigner-Wille distribution transforms, and other wavelet transforms. And then we would like to study the effect of different dosage of coffee onto the cardiac activity. Then a potential extension of this study can be the detection of different caffeinated beverages, including tea and other soft drinks. And lastly, the automatic detection of the drugs and alcohol detection can also be studied in near future. Okay, so these are the publication. This first one, it has been published, and the second one, it is still under review. So these are some of the references. So we have collaborators from India and abroad. So we have Professor Mohanty, who is actively collaborating with us in soft materials. Okay. So we have some collaborators from abroad also who work with us in different aspects. So these are our funding agencies. We have received funding from DBT, DST, SERB, and Science and Technology Department, Government of Odisha. So thank you all, and teachers thrive on the success of their students. So I would like to thank my students who have worked on this, not only on this project, but also on the other projects, because of which I have been able to discuss the research outputs with you guys.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative scientific talk. Now, I would like to humbly request the moderator for the event, Dr. Bibaswan Mishra, sir, Assistant Professor, Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur, to carry forward the question and answer session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjana. A very good afternoon to one and all present in this AICT-sponsored e-conference organized by Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur, Odisha. on the topic Advancing Drug Discovery, Development and Therapy Research Informative. It is been great honor and privilege having a young, dynamic and distinguished personality in the field of biomedical engineering, Dr. Kunal Pal, whose eminences are clearly visible in his research contribution. Thank you, sir. In today's session, his in-depth analysis and presentation was gave profound insight in the field of machine learning-based analysis of the single lead electrocardiograph data for caffeine-induced changes in cardiac electrophysiology, and the participant must have benefited out of this session. And I am now requesting the participants to put their queries, or they can unmute themselves and ask directly to Kunal sir if anybody have any doubt or queries. All these slides are self-explanatory, so you can put your queries in the chat box also. Anybody from the participants, you can unmute yourself and ask any question. So there is no queries from the participant side. So once again, thank you, Kunal sir, for your enlightening speech on artificial intelligence with a practical application to coffee-induced changes in the cardiac electrophysiology and making this wonderful session a success. Now over to Ms. Sanjina to continue the program.
Someone is asking whether the software is free. Yeah, the software, this rapid manner, it is free.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Now may I please request Professor Dr. Biswaranjan Mahanti, sir, to... I'm sorry. Now would I humbly request our chairperson, Dr. C.H. Niranjan Patra, sir, to felicitate the speaker, Dr. Kunal Pal, sir, and I request Dr. Minaketan Sahu, sir, Assistant Professor of Institute of Pharmacy and Technology, Salipur, to present the memento on the screen. So please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kunal Pal. It really indeed was a very informative talk, and I wish all the best for your future, and thank you very much for accepting this invitation from IPT Salipur. In future also, we pharmacy teachers look forward to gain knowledge from you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Patra. Thank you for your kind words.
Sir, please accept our token of love, appreciation, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. All of you. Yeah.